Right. So this is the next section of your bending moment equation, and that bending moment equation is m upon I is equal to sigma upon y is equal to E by R, right? And that's how we'll derive this equation. See, in the last lecture what I discussed you the what do you mean by pure bending. This is what we discussed. Then we discussed about theory of simple bending, right? Then we discussed about different assumptions that are made in the theory, in the analysis of theory of simple bending, right? So next is the derivation of this bending moment equation. Now what this derivation is, see, let us say this is the my beam, right? And if I apply bending moment to this beam like this, and this is, you know that it is called as sagging bending moment, sagging. So if I apply sagging bending moment to this, then let us say this is one portion of the my beam, and in this portion of the beam, this is the maybe the center line, right? And this center line is that line on which there is no force experienced, right? Okay. And if I intentionally draw one line, and that line is EF, and I had considered this very small section of this beam, and that very small section is of length BD, and it is of length delta x, and I marked a line on this beam. This line is EF, and this line EF is at a distance of y from the middle line, right? So if this is the, I'll concentrate on this line, and this is the my beam in neutral position. Neutral position means when on this beam bending moment is not applied. If I apply bending moment to this beam, then this beam will distort in this way, in this position, right? In this position. Now if this beam will distort in this position, then this line will bend like this, and this EF line will change from E to F to E dash F dash, right? Okay, we already know that this side will experience maximum tensile stress or tensile force, and this side will experience maximum compressive force, and this is what the theory of simple bending says. Otherwise also, if you experience, if we apply certain force to it, then majority of the time cracks will appear at the outermost surface. It can be on the outermost outward surface or outermost surface on the inner side. That will depend upon the material, but it will appear on the outermost surface. Why outermost surface? Because at the outermost surface maximum amount of bending stress will get reduced, right? This is what the theory of simple bending is. Now let us come to the derivation of this. Now we were discussing about EF. So EF has taken shape from EF to E dash F dash, and this line is at a distance of y from the middle line. Okay, and if I wish to know the change in length of this EF line, change in length of this EF line, right? Then change in length of this EF line is called as E dash F dash minus EF, right? And what will be the strain for this EF length? The strain for this EF length is change in length divided by original length. So change in length is E dash F dash minus EF and upon original length. Original length was EF only. So this is what the strain, right? Now if you understand the value of E dash F dash, for E dash F dash it is very easy for me. I know E dash F dash is arc is equal to angle multiplied by radius, right? E dash, the value of E dash F dash is arc is equal to angle multiplied by radius. And what is angle? Angle is theta multiplied by radius. Radius is, this is the radius of curvature, r plus y. So value of E dash F dash is r plus y into theta. Now problem is how to find out the value of EF, right? How to find out the value of EF in my required terms. The value of EF is, in this case, when bending moment was not applied, in this case the length EF will be equal to NN dash, right? Or NL dash. The length EF will be equal to NL, and I already know that on this line will not experience any amount of force, whether it is tensile or it is compressive, but it will not experience any amount of force. This line will not experience any amount of force, and this line is called as neutral line, or this axis is called as neutral axis. It will not experience any amount of force, right? So that is why, because this will not experience any type of force, that is why there will not be any change in length of this N dash L dash, or this NL will be equal to N dash L dash, and that is why EF is equal to NL, and this NL is equal to N dash L dash. And from this diagram we can get the value of N dash L dash as r into theta. That is why in this case for EF I had written r into theta. I hope it is clear, right? I can explain it once again very quickly, because I am interested in finding the value of EF. I know that EF, when bending moment is not applied, then EF will be equal to NL, and NL is located on the line or on the axis where it will not experience any type of force. So while bending it will not experience any type of force. That is why whatever the length of NL was, the same length will be of N dash L dash, and NL is equal to EF. That is why EF is equal to N dash L dash, and N dash L dash is r into theta. That is why EF is equal to r into theta. Or if I open the bracket, then I'll get delta EF is equal to y into theta, or strain is equal to delta EF upon EF, or y into theta upon r into theta, or y upon r, right? So this is the strain. And if I compare the Young's modulus of elasticity, then E is equal to bending stress sigma b divided by strain, or sigma b upon y upon r, or sigma b is equal to y into E by r, and sigma b upon y is equal to E by r. Now in this we got something. What do we got? We got that, as we can see, if you realize, for one particular condition E by r will be a constant. For one particular condition, for one particular type of bending moment or situation, E by r will be a constant. If E by r will be a constant, then what do you mean by this? What I mean by this is that in that case sigma b upon y is equal to constant. Then what do you mean by this? What I mean by this is that sigma b will directly proportional to y. Sigma b will directly proportional to y, right? Okay. Now just now we discussed that sigma b is directly proportional to y. How it was that? We concluded that sigma b upon y is equal to E by r, and E by r was constant. So sigma b is directly proportional to y, right? Okay. If it is so, then it has given me this line. What is this? See, y was the distance from this line, and this is y, and this is the diagram, stress variation diagram. From this, what I understood is, I understood that at the outermost fiber it will experience maximum compressive stress, and at this fiber it will experience maximum tensile stress, and its nature will be that it will vary on a linear rate. How can I say that it will vary on a linear rate? Because I know sigma b upon y as a constant, and sigma b is the stress at any location from y, and at this particular distance it is at this point it is sigma b. If I go further, it will vary with respect to y. So that's how it will be a linear line. It is not a, if you understood, this is a linear line, right? And you know by your own experience, if you bend something, then that object will crack from the outermost surface, because at the outermost surface the maximum bending stress reaches its permissible limit of the material. That is why cracks appear at the outermost surface, right? So that is the only reason. That is why, and this mathematically we can see that at the outermost surface it will have maximum amount of compressive stress or maximum amount of tensile stress. And this nature is, I am again saying, you have to watch this video 2-3 times, then only you will understand that how come this is a straight line. It is a straight line because of this reason, that sigma b upon y is equal to E by R, or sigma b is directly proportional to y, right? Okay, now this is the, now we had already done the one part of my bending moment equation, and that one part of bending moment equation was sigma upon y is equal to E by R, and we'll do the next part also, right? Thank you.